Yanghwajin, on the southern shore of the Han River. Yanghwajin, which played a major role in marine transportation at the time, was a gateway for Western culture. In the early 1880s, as the country opened up to foreigners, missionaries came to Korea one after another. They carried out medical and educational projects and mission works for Korea and spread the gospel in this land. The medical missionary Heron turned his back on promising professorship to come to Korea and looked after the poor and the sick. When he died suddenly, Heard, an envoy of America, petitioned the Korean government for a burial plot.
조선 정부가 조미 통상 조약의 최혜국 규정에 의거해서 도성 가까이 위치한 사유지였던 양화진을 사들여서 제공한 매장지가 양화진이었습니다.
Heron. He was a true friend of the sick. Thereafter, many missionaries who had dedicated themselves to the gospel have been laid to rest at Yanghwajin. Reynolds, who was a linguistic genius, was a person made for the task of translating the Bible into Korean. At last, on the day the Korean translation of the Bible became complete, he sends a telegram in full of emotions. Bethel, an English journalist, the paper published by him, let it be known that the owners of this land were Koreans. And yet, with his death at the age of 37, Bethel's hopes eternally remain at Yanghwajin Hills. Underwood, the pioneer of Christian mission in Korea. Appenzeller, the pioneer of modern education in Korea. Hulbert, who worked for education of Korea and restoration of Korea's sovereignty. Sherwood Hall, the medical missionary who worked for eradication of tuberculosis. The Korean church achieved unprecedented growth as the result of efforts and devotions of countless missionaries. Their noble spirit remains at Yanghwajin Hills. New morning dawns in midst of deep darkness. Korea, which has tilled the miracle of the Han River. Yanghwajin Hills, the land of hope and the mission of the gospel. This place became a holy ground for Korean Christianity that embodies the history of those who brought the gospel to this country 120 years ago and who had devoted themselves to us. But coming upon 1979, Yanghwajin Cemetery came to face a crisis as urban development began. The developers coveted the land, and the residents wanted the dilapidated cemetery to be moved. Yes, it was true. After foreigners had left due to the Japanese occupation, the Pacific War for decades, no one looked after this place. Yanghwajin Cemetery, a sacred site for the Korean church and the place of its beginning, became to face with a risk of its disappearance. At last, the 20 Christian denominations and 26 Christian organizations in Korea came together to form the council for the 100th anniversary of the Korean Church, and it became the legal owner of the Yanghwajin Cemetery. The council built the Korean Mission Memorial on the cemetery ground and decided to care for this place as a sacred site for the Korean Church. And upon request of the missionaries, the council decided to provide the building to the Union Church as its chapel, for it did have a fixed place of worship at the time, and to entrust the church with caretaking responsibilities. Such decision embodied the pure motive of the council to repay the debt of gratitude to the missionaries' descendants. But as the time passed, the original members of the Union Church left the church one by one, and the task of caring for the cemetery became too burdensome for a few foreigners of the Union Church. And another time of trial came upon Yanghwajin. At a place that deserves respect and solemnity, bullhorns were used, graves were commonly stepped on. Tour groups damaged the cemetery and the guides demanded donations. Burial sites were illegally sold, and even memorials for Koreans who were still living were erected haphazardly. In order for the Korean Church to proudly declare this place as its sacred heritage, befitting care had to be given. It was time to find ways to provide for such care. Ultimately, in 2003, the Council undertook the formation of the 100th Anniversary Memorial Church, which would be wholly responsible for the preservation and upkeep of the Yanghwajin Foreign Missionary Cemetery and Yongin Martyrs Memorial. After 2 years of preparation, the dedication service for the church was held on July 10, 2005.
이러한 일을 우리 100주년 기념 사업회로 하여금 새로 시작하라 하는 뜻에서 나는 이 교회가 오늘 시작되고 또 우리 목사님을 모시게 되었다고 생각합니다.
이 양화진의 묘지기로서 신앙 선조들의 신앙과 정신을 개성하고 새 세대에 전수하기 위해서 복음 안에서 사랑과 연합, 화해와 일치, 봉사와 헌신의 미랄이 되고자 합니다.
Looking forward to the 200 years of Christian mission in Korea, the 100th Anniversary Memorial Church has been founded as an independent church, not belonging to a particular denomination or a sect, in order to take care of the common heritage that belongs to the whole Korean Church. Once the identity of its caretaker became clear, Yanghwajin began to change.
여기 선교사님들이 이제 저희를 위해서 그 조선에 아무랄 때 와서 우리한테 사랑을 베푼 걸 우리가 빚진 마음으로 갚는 마음으로 즐겁게 깨끗이 청소하고 있습니다.
Through voluntary participation of the church members, Yanghwajin Foreign Missionary Cemetery began to recover its features as a sacred heritage site for the Korean Church. The toppled headstones were made upright. The grasses were newly awakened to breathe. New walkways were paved for visitors wishing to pay their respects. The tours changed so that volunteers who are educated and trained for 5 weeks became guides for the visitors. Their mission is to lead an informative tour in a respectful and orderly way. And Yanghwajin Hall was built with contributions from the members of the church to pay tribute to the noble spirit of the missionaries who are at rest at Yanghwajin. As of November 2009, more than 146,000 visitors took part in the guided tour of the cemetery since the founding of the church.
that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed.
한국에 있는 최고의 성지로서 이 묘역을 훌륭히 지켜내는 게 크리스찬으로서의 사명이라고 생각하고 있습니다.
이거 보고 나니까 외국인 선교사가 우리를 위하여 이렇게 했더니 고마운 것 같아요.
희생하시고 해주셔서 우리가 이렇게 하나님을 알고 구원받을 수 있었다는 것에 대해서 감사함을 느꼈습니다.
아, 우리의 기독교 뿌리가 이런 데가 있었구나, 이 가까운 곳에 있었구나, 이걸 알고부터는 더 신앙, 믿음이 더 깊어지더라고요.
기독교 전체가 하나 될 수 있는 그러한 장소가 될 수 있게끔 더 잘 보존될 수 있었으면 하는 바람입니다.
이것을 기억하고 이 정신을 또한 계승하고 이어갈 수 있었으면 좋겠습니다.
한국을 더 사랑했고 자신의 조국보다 한국을 더 위해 헌신했던 빅토리아 풍의
that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but